How to build atomic habits for lasting change. Have you ever set a huge goal? Maybe it was to get in the best shape of your life, write a book, or finally learn a new language. You started with a burst of motivation. You bought the new running shoes, the blank journal, the subscription to the language app. For a week, maybe two, you were unstoppable. And then, life happened. Motivation faded. You missed one day, then another. And soon that big goal became a quiet reminder of another thing you didn't finish. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know one thing. You are not the problem. The system is. We've been taught to believe that massive success requires massive action, that we need superhuman willpower to change our lives. But that's not true. The secret to real lasting change doesn't come from one giant leap. It comes from hundreds, even thousands of tiny steps. Small, almost unnoticeable choices that compound over time into remarkable results. This book isn't about setting bigger goals. It's about building a better system. We're not going to talk about hustling or grinding. We're going to talk about the quiet power of showing up. We're going to explore the simple science behind our habits and learn how to become the architect of our own lives, not by force but by design. Forget everything you think you know about changing your life. Let's start small. Let's start with a single atomic habit. Before we dive in, I have a simple question for you. Think about your life right now. What is one small habit you've tried to build in the past but struggled to stick with? Maybe it was drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning or reading for 10 minutes before bed. There is no right or wrong answer. Just take a moment to think about it, and please share your answer in the comments section below. Your experience is valuable, and seeing the answers from others will show you that you are absolutely not alone in this journey. Chapter 1. The 1% Rule. Why small habits make a big difference. Let's begin with a story. A story about a woman named Sarah. Sarah was like many of us. She worked a demanding 9-to-5 job, and by the time she got home, she felt drained. Every year, around January, she would be struck by a powerful wave of motivation. This year, she would tell herself, would be different. This year, she would finally get in shape. She would go to the gym 5 days a week, completely overhaul her diet by cutting out all sugar and carbs, and she would start waking up at 5 in the morning to meditate and journal. For the first week, she was a machine. She was fueled by pure willpower and the excitement of a new beginning. She dragged herself out of bed in the dark, forced down salads when she craved pizza, and pushed through grueling workouts that left her sore and exhausted. By the second week, the cracks began to show. She hit the snooze button once, then twice. She had a piece of cake at a co-worker's birthday party and felt like a failure. She missed a gym session because she had to work late. By the third week, the entire system had collapsed. The gym membership card gathered dust on her counter. The junk food slowly crept back into her pantry. The 5 a.m. alarm was silenced for good. Sarah felt defeated, telling herself the same old story. I guess I just don't have the discipline. I'm just not one of those fit people. This story is not a story of failure. It is a story of a flawed strategy. Sarah, like so many of us, fell for one of the biggest lies our culture tells us about success and self-improvement, the myth of the quantum leap. We are a society obsessed with the overnight success story. We see the actor who lands a blockbuster role, but we don't see the decade of failed auditions and waiting tables that came before it. We see the entrepreneur who sells their company for millions, but we don't see the years of ramen noodles, sleepless nights, and near bankruptcies. We see the athlete standing on the Olympic podium with a gold medal around their neck, but we don't see the thousands of early morning practices, the injuries, the sacrifices, and the monotonous, boring, repetitive training sessions that happened in empty stadiums, far away from the cheering crowds. We are shown the highlight reel of life, the dramatic moment of transformation, and we are led to believe that this is how change happens. We think that to get the results we want, we need to make a massive, earth-shattering effort. We believe we need to summon a heroic amount of willpower and motivation to fundamentally change who we are in one fell swoop. But this approach is not just ineffective, it's actively counterproductive. It sets us up for failure. Why? Because that intense level of motivation is temporary. It's an emotional state like happiness or anger, and it cannot be sustained indefinitely. Relying on a burst of motivation to change your life is like trying to power a city with a single lightning strike. It's spectacular and powerful for a moment, but it quickly fades, leaving you in the dark. The real path to lasting change is quieter, less dramatic, and far more powerful. It is the path of small, incremental improvements. It is the path of the 1% rule. What is the 1% rule? It's a concept rooted in a simple but profound mathematical reality. The idea is to focus on getting just 1% better at something every single day. On its own, a 1% improvement is barely noticeable. It's insignificant. If you run for 10 minutes today and 10 minutes and 6 seconds tomorrow, you won't feel like a different person. If you save $1 today and $1.01 tomorrow, your bank account won't look much different. The individual action is trivial, but the power of the 1% rule is not in the single action, it is in the compounding effect over time. Let's look at the math because it is truly staggering. If you can manage to get just 1% better each day for 1 year, you will end up 37 times better by the time you're done. Let me repeat that, because it's important. A tiny, almost invisible edge repeated daily compounds into a result that is 37 times greater. Now, let's look at the flip side. What happens if you get 1% worse each day? If you make a slightly poorer choice, skip a habit, or take a small step backward? Over the course of a year, that daily 1% decline doesn't just leave you back where you started, it drives you down almost to zero. The difference between becoming 37 times better and becoming virtually nothing is the small, daily choice. It's the decision to do the extra push-up or not, the decision to read one page or scroll on your phone, the decision to eat the apple or the cookie. Think of it like an airplane flying from Los Angeles to New York City. If the pilot adjusts the heading of the plane just 3.5 degrees to the south at takeoff, a barely perceptible change, the nose of the plane will only shift by a few feet. No one on board would even notice. But over the course of that cross-country flight, that tiny early deviation will compound, and the plane will end up landing not in New York, but in Washington, D.C. A small change in your daily habits might not seem to change your destination in the first week or even the first month. But a year or 5 years or a decade from now, you could find yourself in a completely different place. The habits that you have right now, the small things you do every day without thinking, are quietly shaping the person you are becoming. They are steering your plane. The question is, are they steering you toward the destination you truly want? The problem is that we often don't see the effects of our small habits in the short term. This is what I call the plateau of latent potential. Imagine you have an ice cube sitting on a table in a cold room. The temperature in the room is 25 degrees. You decide you want to melt the ice cube, so you begin to slowly raise the temperature in the room. 26 degrees. Nothing. 27 degrees. Still a solid block of ice. 28, 29, 30, 31 degrees. You've been putting in the work, you've been increasing the heat, but the ice cube still looks exactly the same. You see no visible change. This is the point where most people give up. They say, "This isn't working," and they walk away. This is the valley of disappointment, where the effort you are putting in seems to have no effect. But if you have the patience to keep going, something magical happens. The temperature hits 32 degrees, and suddenly, the ice cube begins to melt. The breakthrough wasn't caused by that 1 degree change from 31 to 32. It was the result of all the accumulated energy, all the degrees that came before it. Your habits work in exactly the same way. You can be making small positive changes for weeks or even months without seeing any tangible results. You've been going to the gym, but the scale hasn't budged. You've been practicing the guitar, but you still can't play a song properly. You've been saving a little bit of money from each paycheck, but your savings account still looks small. This is the plateau of latent potential. All of your hard work is not being wasted. It is being stored. You are building up potential, just like the heat building up in the room. And if you have the persistence to stick with it, you will eventually hit your breakthrough moment. The scale will start to drop. Your fingers will suddenly find the right chords. Your savings will hit a critical mass and start to grow on its own through compound interest. The most powerful outcomes are delayed. We live in a world that craves instant gratification, but the world is run by those who can delay it. You have to be willing to work through the valley of disappointment to reach the rewards that are waiting on the other side. Another powerful analogy for this is the Chinese bamboo tree. When you plant the seed of a Chinese bamboo tree, you water it and nurture the soil for the first year, and nothing happens. There is no visible sign of growth. You continue to water and protect it for the second year, and still nothing. The third year, nothing. The fourth year, still nothing. This is an incredible test of faith. You are pouring your effort into something with no evidence of progress. Then, in the fifth year, something extraordinary occurs. The bamboo tree breaks through the ground and grows an astonishing 90 feet tall in just 6 weeks. The question is, did the bamboo tree grow 90 feet in 6 weeks, or did it grow for 5 years? The answer is obvious. It grew for 5 years. For those first 4 years when nothing was happening above the surface, the tree was developing a massive and complex root system underground. It was building the foundation necessary to support its explosive outward growth. Without that deep, strong foundation, the tree could never have grown so tall so quickly. Your habits are your root system. The small, consistent actions you take each day are building the foundation for your future success. Meditating for 2 minutes a day might not make you a Zen master overnight, but it is building the neural pathways for calm and focus. Writing 1 paragraph a day might not produce a novel in a week, but it is building the discipline and skill of a writer. Choosing water over soda just once a day won't transform your body tomorrow, but it is building the identity of a healthy person. The work you do when no one is watching, the small choices you make that seem insignificant, these are the moments that build the root system. And when the time is right, your growth will seem sudden and explosive to the outside world. They will call it an overnight success, but you will know the truth. You will know it was the result of years of quiet, consistent, and patient cultivation. You were not just waiting, you were building. Perhaps the most compelling real-world example of the 1% rule in action is the story of the British cycling team. For over a century, British cycling was the definition of mediocrity. They had won only a single gold medal in the Olympic Games in 100 years. In the prestigious Tour de France, the pinnacle of the sport, no British cyclist had ever won the race in its 110-year history. Their performance was so underwhelming that one of the top bicycle manufacturers in Europe refused to sell their bikes to the team, afraid that it would hurt their brand if other professionals saw the British team using their gear. It was a national embarrassment. Then in 2003, everything changed. They hired a man named Dave Brailsford as their new performance director. Brailsford was different. He wasn't focused on some massive, radical overhaul. Instead, he was a firm believer in a philosophy he called the aggregation of marginal gains. The principle was simple. If you could break down every single thing that goes into riding a bicycle and then improve each of those elements by just 1%, you would get a significant increase in overall performance when you put them all back together. Brailsford and his team started with the obvious things. They redesigned the bike seats to be more comfortable. They rubbed alcohol on the tires for better grip. They had the riders wear electrically heated shorts to maintain ideal muscle temperature. They tested different fabrics in a wind tunnel to find the most aerodynamic racing suits. But they didn't stop there. They went deeper, looking for tiny 1% improvements in areas that were completely overlooked by everyone else. They tested different types of massage gels to see which one led to the fastest muscle recovery. They hired a surgeon to teach the athletes the proper way to wash their hands to reduce the chance of getting a cold, which could cost them valuable training days. They determined the best type of pillow and mattress that led to the optimal night's sleep for each individual rider. They even painted the inside of the team's support truck white. Why? To make it easier to spot tiny specks of dust that could compromise the performance of the finely tuned racing bikes. At first, these changes seemed too small to matter. Critics scoffed, but Brailsford was patient. He knew the power of compounding, and slowly, then all at once, the results began to come. The aggregation of hundreds of these tiny improvements created a surge in performance that was utterly shocking. During the 10-year span from 2007 to 2017, the British cycling team became the most dominant force in the history of the sport. They won an incredible 178 World Championships. They won 66 Olympic or Paralympic gold medals, and they won the Tour de France 5 times in 6 years. A team that was once a laughingstock had achieved a level of success that was previously unimaginable, and they did it not by searching for one magic bullet solution, but by committing to the relentless pursuit of tiny 1% improvements. This story is not just about cycling. It is a powerful lesson for all of us. It shows that you don't need to be extraordinary to achieve extraordinary things. You just need to be consistent. You need to identify the small, fundamental components of the life you want to build and find a way to improve each one by just 1%. What are the marginal gains in your own life? Maybe it's putting your phone in another room for the first 10 minutes after you get home from work to be more present with your family. That's a 1% improvement in your relationships. Maybe it's preparing your lunch the night before so you don't buy something unhealthy. That's a 1% improvement in your nutrition. Maybe it's reading 1 page of a book instead of watching 1 more news clip. That's a 1% improvement in your knowledge. None of these actions will change your life overnight, but they are the building blocks. They are the white paint inside the truck. They are the tiny adjustments that, when aggregated, lead to a completely different destination. So, if the power of small, consistent improvements is so undeniable, why do so many of us, like Sarah from our earlier story, default to the all-or-nothing approach? The answer lies in our relationship with goals. We have been taught to be a goal-oriented society. From a young age, we are told to set our sights on the big prize, get good grades, get into a good college, get a good job, get a promotion. We are constantly focused on the outcome, the finish line. While having goals is not inherently bad, they provide direction and clarity. An obsessive focus on goals can be the very thing that sabotages our progress. To truly harness the power of the 1% rule, we need to make a crucial mental shift. We need to forget about goals and focus on systems instead. What is the difference? A goal is the result you want to achieve. A system is the process that leads to those results. If you're a coach, your goal is to win the championship. Your system is what your team does at practice each day. If you're a writer, your goal is to write a book. Your system is your daily writing schedule. If you're an entrepreneur, your goal is to build $1 million business. Your system is your process for testing product ideas, marketing, and serving customers. The goal is the mountain peak you want to reach. The system is the act of putting one foot in front of the other, day after day. There are several fundamental problems with a goals-first mentality. First, winners and losers often have the very same goals. Every athlete who goes to the Olympics has the goal of winning a gold medal. Every job applicant has the goal of getting the job. If success was just about having an ambitious goal, then we would have a lot more winners. The goal itself is not what separates people. What separates the winner from everyone else is their commitment to a system of continuous small improvements. The winner and the loser both had their eyes on the prize, but the winner was the one who fell in love with the boredom of practice, the one who showed up every day, the one who focused on executing the system, not just dreaming about the outcome. Second, achieving a goal is only a momentary change. Let's go back to Sarah. Her goal was to get in shape. Let's imagine she had pushed through and managed to lose 20 pounds. She steps on the scale, sees the number she wanted, and feels a surge of happiness. She has achieved her goal. But what happens next? Once the goal is reached, the motivation that was driving her disappears. The goal is no longer there to push her forward. So she stops doing the things that got her there. She reverts back to her old habits. This is what's known as yo-yo dieting, but it applies to almost any goal. You study hard for a test, you pass it, and then you promptly forget everything you learned. You work tirelessly to declutter your house, and then you slowly let it fill back up with junk. When all of your hard work is focused on a particular goal, what is left to push you forward after you achieve it? The purpose of building a system is to make progress a continuous and normal part of your life, not a temporary pursuit with a finish line. The system is for life. The goal is just a single point in that life. The third problem with a goals-first mentality is that it restricts your happiness. The implicit assumption behind any goal is this: once I reach my goal, then I will be happy. This creates a dangerous mental framework. You are essentially postponing your happiness and satisfaction until you hit some arbitrary milestone in the future. You are constantly living in a state of not yet. You tell yourself, I'll be happy once I lose the weight, or I'll be happy once I get the promotion, or I'll be happy once my book is published. This creates a perpetual cycle of pressure and stress. You are either a failure because you haven't reached your goal yet, or you are briefly happy when you achieve it, only to immediately start looking for the next goal to pursue. You are teaching yourself that the process, the journey, which is where you spend 99% of your life, is a painful obstacle to be overcome. But when you fall in love with the system, you don't have to wait to be happy. You can find satisfaction in the process itself. You can find joy in showing up, in casting a vote for the person you want to become. The system allows you to be happy now, not someday. Success is not a finish line. It is a state of being, a way of operating. Finally, a goals-first mentality can create a dangerous all-or-nothing effect. If you are completely focused on running a marathon and you get injured and can only run for 10 minutes, it feels like a total failure. Your goal was the marathon, and anything less is worthless. But if your system is simply to be a person who runs 3 times a week, then a 10-minute run is still a huge success. Why? Because you showed up. You reinforced your identity as a runner. You kept the system alive. A system-based approach allows for flexibility and celebrates effort, not just outcomes. It protects you from the disappointment of falling short of a perfect ideal. So how do we make this shift? How do you move from being goal-oriented to system-oriented? It's a simple but profound exercise. Take any goal you have. Let's say your goal is to write a novel. A goal-oriented person would fixate on the word count, the publishing deal, the finished product. The system-oriented person asks a different question. What is the system that would make writing a novel an inevitable outcome? The answer might be, my system is to write for 30 minutes every morning at 7 a.m. at my kitchen table. That's it. The entire focus shifts from the daunting task of writing a novel to the simple, manageable task of sitting down and writing for 30 minutes. You are no longer measuring success by whether you finished the book. You are measuring success by whether you stuck to your system today. Did you show up? Did you put in your 30 minutes? If the answer is yes, then today was a successful day, regardless of how many words you wrote. Let's take another example. Your goal is to become fluent in Spanish. The system is not become fluent. The system is practice on my language app for 15 minutes during my lunch break every weekday. Your only job is to execute the system. Trust that if you execute the system consistently, the goal will take care of itself. The system is your root system. The goal is the bamboo shoot that will eventually break through the surface. Focus on watering the roots. Focus on the daily practice. This is the fundamental secret. The purpose of a habit is not to achieve a single outcome. The purpose of a habit is to become a certain type of person. The goal is not to clean your garage once. It's to become an organized person. The goal is not to run a 5K, it's to become a runner. The goal is not to meditate for a month, it's to become a mindful person. When you focus on your system, you are focusing on your identity. And that is a topic so powerful and so critical to lasting change that we will dedicate our entire next chapter to exploring it. For now, I want you to leave this chapter with this one core idea burned into your mind. Small is not just a start. Small is the entire strategy. Your life today is essentially the sum of your habits, the state of your health, your wealth, your relationships. These are lagging measures of your daily routines. You are not your intentions. You are not your goals. You are what you repeatedly do. If you want to predict your future, you don't need a crystal ball. You just need to look at the trajectory of your 1% choices. Are they leading you up by 37 times? Or are they leading you down to 0? You don't need a massive revolution in your life. You just need a small evolution. You need to stop trying to build a skyscraper overnight and instead focus on perfectly laying one single brick day after day. Because a wall is nothing more than a collection of well-placed bricks, and a remarkable life is nothing more than a collection of well-chosen habits. The power to change your life is not in the grand gesture. It is in the tiny atomic choice you make in this very next moment. Chapter 2. The Blueprint of You, Habits and Your Identity. In the last chapter, we talked about the immense power of small 1% improvements. We learned that massive results don't come from massive action, but from tiny habits that compound over time. We made a commitment to forget about goals and focus on building systems instead. This is a crucial first step. But even with the best system in the world, people can still find themselves struggling, falling back into old patterns and feeling stuck. There's a deeper force at play, a hidden script that runs our lives, and until we understand it, we will always be fighting an uphill battle. This force is our identity. True, lasting change isn't a matter of behavior change, it's a matter of identity change. Let's imagine you are trying to quit smoking. Someone offers you a cigarette. A common way to refuse is to say, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." This seems like a reasonable response, but listen closely to the words, "I'm trying to quit." In that simple phrase, you are telling yourself and the world that you are still a smoker who is currently attempting to be something else. You are holding on to your old identity and trying to force a new behavior on top of it. You are creating an internal conflict between who you believe you are and what you are trying to do. This conflict requires an enormous amount of willpower to sustain, and eventually willpower runs out. Now imagine a different response. The same person offers you a cigarette, and you reply, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." This is not just a change in words. It is a declaration of a change in identity. It signals a fundamental shift in how you see yourself. You are no longer a smoker trying to quit. You are a non-smoker. The behavior of refusing a cigarette is no longer a struggle. It is a natural and automatic expression of who you are. When your behavior and your identity are in alignment, you are no longer resisting temptation. You are simply being yourself. This is the profound difference between trying to change your actions and changing who you believe you are. To understand this better, let's picture change as an onion with 3 layers. The outermost layer is our outcomes. This is the layer of results. It's what we get: losing weight, publishing a book, winning a championship, earning more money. Most of the goals we set for ourselves are at this outcome level. The next layer in is our process. This is the layer of what we do. It's where we change our habits and our systems, implementing a new workout routine, developing a daily writing schedule, creating a monthly budget. Most of the habits we try to build are at this process level. But at the very core of the onion, the deepest and most powerful layer is our identity. This layer is about what we believe. It's our self-image, our worldview, the judgments we make about ourselves and others. It's the story we tell ourselves about who we are. Some people might have an identity of, "I am not a morning person," or "I am bad at math," or "I am always late." These are identity-level beliefs. Most people begin the process of self-improvement by focusing on the outside of the onion. They start with what they want to achieve. "I want to lose 20 pounds, they say. This is an outcome-based approach. So they start a new diet or join a gym, which is a process-based change. The problem is they are trying to change their actions without ever challenging the identity that led to those actions in the first place. They might be following a healthy eating plan, but deep down, they still see themselves as the kind of person who is overweight, who has no self-control, and who loves junk food. They are fighting a daily war against their own self-image. Every healthy choice feels like a sacrifice, a deviation from their true nature. And when life gets stressful or motivation wanes, they will inevitably revert to the behavior that aligns with their deepest identity. You can't maintain behaviors that are inconsistent with your self-image for long. It is a recipe for frustration and failure. The key to creating lasting change is to work from the inside out. You start at the core of the onion. You start with your identity. You stop worrying about the weight you want to lose and instead start focusing on the type of person you want to become. The goal is not to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. The goal is not to write a book. The goal is to become a writer. The goal is not to learn to play the guitar. The goal is to become a musician. Do you see the subtle but powerful shift? When you focus on becoming a runner, running is no longer a chore you have to do to reach a goal. It is an act that reinforces your identity. A runner runs. That's what they do. When it's cold and rainy outside, the person who is just trying to get through a training plan might stay inside, but the person who sees themselves as a runner puts on their gear and goes for a run, because that is an expression of who they are. Their identity drives their action, not the other way around. Your identity is not something you are born with. It is not set in stone. You may have carried certain beliefs about yourself for years, even decades, but that does not mean they are permanent. Your identity emerges out of your habits. You are not born with a preset belief that you are a tidy person. This belief is formed after you repeatedly perform the habit of making your bed, putting your clothes away, and washing the dishes. You are not born believing you are a great friend. This identity is cultivated through the repeated habits of calling to check in, remembering birthdays, and showing up when someone needs you. Your self-image is not a fixed trait. It is a story you have built brick by brick through your actions. This leads us to a beautifully simple and empowering idea. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Think of your identity as an election. Every time you choose to go to the gym, you are casting a vote for, "I am a fit person." Every time you pick up a book instead of your phone, you are casting a vote for, "I am a reader." Every time you practice your instrument for 5 minutes, you are casting a vote for, "I am a musician." Every time you choose a healthy meal, you cast a vote for, "I am a healthy person." A single vote will not win an election. A single workout will not make you fit. A single page will not make you a reader. But as the votes pile up, so does the evidence of your new identity. You are not trying to convince anyone else. You are providing proof to the most important person, yourself. The brain is a remarkably practical organ. It wants to create a coherent story. When it sees mounting evidence that you are a person who consistently shows up at the gym, it will start to update its internal script. The story will begin to change from, "I'm trying to get in shape," to "I am the type of person who doesn't miss workouts." Once that belief takes hold, it becomes easier and easier to perform the habit. The internal friction disappears. You are no longer forcing yourself to do something. You are simply acting in alignment with the person you believe yourself to be. This also works in reverse, of course. Every time you hit the snooze button, you cast a vote for being a person who procrastinates. Every time you choose the fast food option, you cast a vote for being an unhealthy person. Every time you complain instead of taking action, you cast a vote for being a victim. The small choices we make every day are not just isolated actions. They are the building blocks of our character. They are the votes that elect the person we will ultimately become. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, puts this beautifully. The most practical way to change who you are is to change what you do. The good news is that you don't need a landslide victory. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to win the majority of the votes. On any given day, there will be votes cast for your old self and votes cast for your new desired self. Your job is to simply make sure that at the end of the day, the new identity has a slight majority. If you aim for perfection, you will inevitably fail, and that failure can be so demoralizing that you give up entirely. But if you aim for a simple majority, you give yourself grace. You acknowledge that you are human. Maybe you had a donut for breakfast, casting a vote for your old, unhealthy identity. But if you then have a healthy salad for lunch, go for a walk in the afternoon and drink a lot of water, you have cast 3 votes for your new healthy identity. You won the day. The trend is moving in the right direction. It's not about being perfect, it's about making progress. It's about building a body of evidence that supports your desired identity, one small vote at a time. So how do we put this into practice? How do we consciously and deliberately build a new identity? The process is wonderfully simple and consists of 2 steps. Step 1 is to decide the type of person you want to be. This sounds big and philosophical, but we can make it very concrete. I want you to move beyond vague goals like, I want to be healthy or I want to be successful. Those are outcomes. We need to define the identity. Who is the type of person that could achieve those things? What characteristics do they have? What principles do they live by? Be specific. Instead of, I want to be healthy, your identity could be, I am the type of person who moves my body every day and fuels it with whole foods. Instead of, I want to be a successful writer, your identity could be, I am a prolific and disciplined writer who shows up to the page every morning. I encourage you right now to take out a piece of paper or open a new note on your phone. Write the words, I am the type of person who, and then finish that sentence. Don't write, I want to be. Write, I am. This is an act of claiming your future identity in the present moment. Create a few of these identity statements for the different areas of your life you want to improve. For your finances, I am a conscious spender and a diligent saver. For your relationships, I am a present, attentive, and supportive partner and friend. For your career, I am a reliable and proactive problem solver. These statements become your North Star. They are the blueprint for the person you are building. Step 2 is to prove it to yourself with small wins. An identity statement is just a wish until it is backed by evidence. Your job now is to look at your identity statement and ask yourself, what is a small, easy, almost trivial action that a person with this identity would take? This is where we connect the power of identity with the 1% rule from the last chapter. We are going to use tiny habits as votes for our new identity. The smaller, the better, because small actions are easy to do. And that means you can start casting votes immediately and consistently. You want to make it so easy to cast a vote that you can't say no. Let's walk through some examples. Let's say your identity is, I am a tidy and organized person. What's a small win that proves this? You could make your bed this morning. It takes 2 minutes. It is a small, concrete piece of evidence. It is a vote. When you complete it, you can say to yourself, an organized person would have a made bed and I just did that. Let's say your identity is, I am a writer. What's a small win? Don't think about writing a chapter, that's too big. Think smaller. Write one sentence, just one. Anyone can write one sentence. When you do, you have cast a vote. You have provided evidence. You did the thing that a writer does. You wrote. What if your identity is, I am a person who is grateful for my life? A small win could be thinking of one thing you are grateful for while you brush your teeth. That's it. You have just reinforced your identity as a grateful person. The beauty of this two-step process is that it creates a powerful feedback loop. You start with the identity you want to have, step 1. Then you take a very small action that aligns with that identity, step 2. That small action provides a piece of evidence, a small win, that reinforces your new identity. This makes you feel good. It makes you believe, just a little bit more, that you really are that type of person. This slightly stronger belief then makes it a little bit easier to take the next small action. And the cycle continues. Each small habit you perform is like a drop of water that slowly carves a new channel in your mind. Over time, this channel becomes deeper and wider, and the behaviors associated with your new identity begin to flow effortlessly. You are literally reshaping your brain and your beliefs through your actions. Think about someone who has been a smoker for 20 years. Their identity as a smoker is incredibly strong. It's been reinforced by tens of thousands of cigarettes. That's a mountain of evidence. To change that identity, they need to start building a new mountain of evidence for the identity of a non-smoker. The first day they don't smoke is one vote. It's small compared to the mountain, but it's a start. The second day is another vote. The first time they turn down a cigarette from a friend is a huge vote. The first time they get through a stressful situation without reaching for a cigarette is another massive vote. Slowly but surely, the pile of evidence for the new identity grows. Eventually, it will become larger than the old pile. The belief will shift. The identity will change. This approach flips the traditional model of change on its head. The old model is have, do, be. If I have more time and energy, then I will do more exercise, and then I will be fit. This model puts all the power outside of yourself. It relies on external conditions to be right before you can start. The identity-based model is be, do, have. I will start by being a fit person. What does a fit person do? They move their body. So I will go for a 5-minute walk. As I continue to do these things, I will eventually have the body and health I desire. In this model, the power is entirely within you. You start by deciding who you are right now in this moment. You don't need to wait for anything. You can start being that person with your very next action. Let me tell you a story about a man named Scott. Scott was overweight and had been for most of his adult life. He had tried every diet imaginable. He would lose 20 pounds, feel good for a while, and then gain it all back plus a little extra. His identity was firmly rooted in being a fat guy. That was the story he told himself. He believed he was destined to be overweight. One day, he decided to try something different. He stopped focusing on the goal of losing 100 pounds. It was too daunting. and it just reinforced how far he had to go. Instead, he asked himself a simple question. What is one thing a healthy person would do? He decided a healthy person probably wouldn't take the elevator to his third-floor office. So he started taking the stairs. That was it. It was a small daily vote for his new identity. Then he asked again, what's another thing a healthy person would do? He decided a healthy person would probably go for a walk during their lunch break. So he started walking for 10 minutes every day. Another vote. Slowly, he started adding more votes. He started drinking a glass of water before each meal. He started parking at the far end of the grocery store parking lot. None of these things felt like a diet. They didn't require heroic willpower. They were just small choices, small pieces of evidence. He wasn't on a diet. He was simply starting to act like a healthy person. As the weeks and months went by, the votes piled up. He started to feel better. He had more energy. Because he felt better, he found it easier to make even healthier choices. He started cooking his own meals. He joined a gym, not to punish himself, but because he had started to believe he was the kind of person who takes care of his body. Over the course of a year, Scott lost over 100 pounds. But more importantly, the weight stayed off. Why? Because he hadn't just changed his diet. He had changed his identity. He no longer saw himself as a fat guy trying to be thin. He saw himself as a healthy person, and his daily habits were now a natural reflection of that core belief. Your current habits are simply a reflection of your current identity. To change your habits for good, you need to change the story you tell yourself. You need to upgrade your identity. You are the author of your own story, and you can start a new chapter whenever you choose. The actions you take today are writing that new chapter. Each tiny habit is a sentence. So, what story do you want to write? Who do you want to become? Decide on that identity, and then start casting votes for it. Don't worry about how small the votes are. Just focus on showing up and casting them. Make your bed. Read one page. Drink one glass of water. Take one deep breath. Each one is a confirmation, a piece of evidence that says, yes, this is who I am now. This is the real secret to lasting change. It's not about what you do. It's about who you become. And you become that person one small identity-affirming habit at a time. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but that step must be taken in the direction of the person you truly want to be. Start walking. Chapter 3. The Habit Loop. How to deconstruct and rebuild your brain's code. Have you ever driven your car along a familiar route, maybe on your daily commute home from work, and arrived at your destination with almost no memory of the journey itself? You were thinking about a problem at work, or what to make for dinner, or a conversation you had earlier. And yet your hands and feet did all the right things. You navigated turns, stopped at lights, and changed lanes, all while your conscious mind was somewhere else entirely. This is not a sign of carelessness. It is a sign of your brain's incredible efficiency. This is the power of a habit in action. Your brain has run the drive home program so many times that it has become completely automatic, freeing up your mental energy to focus on other things. Our brains are fundamentally built to be as efficient as possible. Your conscious mind, the part of you that is listening to these words right now, is powerful, but it has a very limited capacity. It gets tired easily. Think about your first day at a new job. You have to consciously think about everything: where to park, how to log into your computer, what your boss's name is, where the coffee machine is. By the end of the day, you feel mentally exhausted. Why? Because your conscious brain has been working overtime, processing a flood of new information. Now think about that same job 6 months later. You do all of those things without a single thought. They have become habits. Your brain has taken these repeated actions and bundled them into an automatic script. It has outsourced the work to a different part of the brain, the basal ganglia, which is like the brain's habit headquarters. This process is called chunking, and it is absolutely essential for our survival. If you had to consciously think about every single action you take, from tying your shoes to brushing your teeth to walking, you would be paralyzed. You would have no mental space left for creativity, for problem solving, for learning, or for simply enjoying the world around you. So, this habit-forming process is not a flaw in our design. It is one of our greatest superpowers. The problem is that the brain doesn't distinguish between good habits and bad habits. It is an efficiency engine, not a moral judge. It will just as eagerly turn the action of scrolling through social media into an automatic habit as it will the action of meditating for 10 minutes. It simply learns what sequence of actions leads to a satisfying outcome and then automates it. This means that a significant portion of your day, by some estimates over 40% of the actions you take, are not conscious choices, but the playing out of these automated scripts. You are living on autopilot. The question is, who wrote the code for that autopilot? Was it you with conscious intention? Or did you just let these programs develop by default? The good news is that we can become the programmers. We can understand the code behind our habits and learn to rewrite it. Scientists who study this process have discovered that every habit, from the simplest to the most complex, follows the same basic neurological pattern. This pattern is called the habit loop, and once you see it, you will start to see it everywhere in your own life. You can break it down into 4 simple steps: cue, craving, response, and reward. Let's explore each of these steps in detail, because they are the levers we can pull to create new habits and dismantle old ones. The first step is the cue. The cue is the trigger. It is the little piece of information that tells your brain to launch into a specific habit script. It's the spark that ignites the fire. Cues come in many forms, and becoming aware of the cues that trigger your habits is the first and most critical step toward changing them. There are 5 main categories of cues. The first is time. Many of our habits are tied to a specific time of day. Your alarm clock going off in the morning is a cue to start the habit of hitting the snooze button. The clock striking noon is a cue to feel hungry and start your lunch habit. The mid-afternoon slump around 3 p.m. can be a cue to get a coffee or a sugary snack. The second category is location. Your environment is filled with cues. Sitting on your couch in the living room might be a cue to turn on the television. Walking into your kitchen might be a cue to open the refrigerator. Seeing your bed at night is a cue to get ready for sleep. Your location often dictates your behavior without you even realizing it. The third category is the preceding event. One habit is often the cue for the next. This is a very common and powerful type of trigger. The act of finishing dinner might be a cue to crave dessert. The sound of a notification on your phone is a cue to stop what you are doing and check it. The end of a television show might be a cue to open a social media app. These habits are stacked one on top of the other like a chain reaction. The fourth category is your emotional state. How you feel is one of the most powerful cues of all. The feeling of stress is a huge cue for many people. For some, it triggers the habit of smoking a cigarette. For others, it triggers the habit of eating comfort food. The feeling of boredom is another powerful cue, often leading to habits like endlessly scrolling the internet, biting your nails, or channel surfing. Loneliness can be a cue to check your phone for messages or to binge watch a series. The fifth and final category is other people. The people you surround yourself with act as powerful cues. Seeing a friend light a cigarette can create an instant urge to smoke, even if you hadn't been thinking about it. Going out to a bar with friends is a powerful cue to drink alcohol. Your family sitting down to eat ice cream is a cue for you to want some too. To gain control over your habits, you must first become a detective of your own behavior. You need to identify the cues that are running your life. I suggest a simple exercise. Pick one habit you want to change, for example, the habit of eating junk food in the afternoon. For the next week, every time you perform that habit, take out a small notebook or a note on your phone and answer these 5 questions. 1. Where am I? Location. 2. What time is it? Time. 3. What is my emotional state? Emotional state. 4. Who else is around? Other people. 5. What action did I just do immediately before this? Preceding event. After doing this for just a few days, a pattern will begin to emerge with stunning clarity. You might discover that your junk food habit isn't triggered by hunger, but by boredom. And it almost always happens around 3:30 p.m. when you are sitting at your desk. This awareness is transformative. The habit is no longer some mysterious, uncontrollable urge. You have identified the specific cue that starts the whole process. You have found the first domino. The second step in the habit loop is the craving. The cue is what triggers the habit, but the craving is what gives it power. The craving is the motivational force. It is the desire, the want, the urge for a change in your state. It's important to understand that you are not craving the habit itself. You are craving the outcome that the habit delivers. A smoker does not crave the act of smoking a cigarette. They crave the feeling of relief from stress or nicotine withdrawal that the cigarette provides. You don't crave the act of turning on the television. You crave the entertainment and distraction from your thoughts that it provides. You don't crave the act of checking your email. You crave the potential for a new message, the feeling of being connected, or the relief from the anxiety of not knowing what's in your inbox. This is a crucial distinction because it opens up new possibilities for change. The cue is not something you can always control. You will still feel stressed. You will still be at your desk at 3:30 p.m. But if you understand the underlying craving, you can design a new, better habit that satisfies that same craving. If the craving your afternoon junk food habit is satisfying is the need for a distraction from boring work, you could design a new habit. The cue, 3:30 p.m. at your desk feeling bored, would stay the same. But you could change your response to be walk around the office for 5 minutes and talk to a coworker, or do 10 push-ups. These new habits could satisfy the same craving for a mental break, but in a much healthier way. Understanding the craving behind your bad habits is like finding a hidden map to a better life. It shows you what you are really looking for, and it empowers you to find a better way to get there. The third step of the habit loop is the response. The response is the actual habit itself, whether it is a physical action like eating a cookie or a mental action like worrying about the future. The response is the thing you do. Whether or not a response occurs depends on a few factors, most notably the amount of friction associated with the action. If the action is easy and requires little effort, you are far more likely to do it. If it is difficult and requires a lot of effort, you are far less likely to do it. This might seem obvious, but it is a fundamental law of human behavior. We are wired to follow the path of least resistance. This is a concept we will explore in much greater detail in the next chapter, as it is one of the most powerful tools we have for designing good habits and eliminating bad ones. For now, just remember that the response is the action you take to satisfy the craving that was triggered by the cue. The fourth and final step of the habit loop is the reward. The reward is the end goal of every habit. The cue is about noticing the reward. The craving is about wanting the reward. The response is about obtaining the reward. The reward serves two purposes. First, it satisfies your craving. The cookie satisfies your craving for sugar. The cigarette satisfies your craving for nicotine. The like on your social media post satisfies your craving for social validation. The immediate gratification is what makes the habit feel good in the moment. The second purpose of the reward is even more important. The reward teaches your brain. When you experience a reward, your brain releases a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Dopamine is often called the pleasure chemical, but its role is more complex. It plays a critical role in memory and motivation. When your brain gets a hit of dopamine after a certain action, it sends a powerful signal. Hey, that was good. We should remember what we just did and do it again in the future. The reward is what closes the habit loop and tells your brain to make this sequence of cue, craving, and response more automatic next time. If a behavior is not rewarding, it will not become a habit. Your brain has no reason to remember it. This reward system explains why bad habits are often so easy to form. The rewards for bad habits are usually immediate and certain. The pleasure of eating a donut is immediate. The stress relief from a cigarette is immediate. The distraction of a YouTube video is immediate. The rewards for good habits, on the other hand, are often delayed and uncertain. The reward for going to the gym is not a better body tomorrow. It's a better body months or years from now. The reward for saving money is not wealth tomorrow. It's financial security far in the future. Our brains evolved in an immediate return environment where the focus was on finding the next meal, not planning for retirement. As a result, we have a deep-seated biological bias toward instant gratification. To build good habits, we often have to find a way to inject some form of immediate reward into the process to keep our brains engaged and motivated. So, let's put this all together. The 4 stages: cue, craving, response, reward, create an endless automatic feedback loop. This loop is constantly running in the background of your life, powering your habits and shaping your choices. Let's deconstruct a common bad habit using this framework. The habit of checking your phone first thing in the morning. Step 1. The cue. Your alarm goes off and you wake up. Your phone is sitting right there on your nightstand. That visual cue is the trigger. Step 2. The craving. You have an immediate craving to know what happened while you were asleep. Did I get any important messages? What's new on social media? There is a craving for information and connection. Step 3. The response. You pick up your phone, turn off the alarm, and immediately open your email or a social media app. This action is easy because the phone is within arm's reach. Step 4. The reward. You are rewarded with a flood of new information, new emails, new posts, new notifications. Each little piece of information delivers a small hit of dopamine, satisfying your craving, and teaching your brain that this is a great way to start the day. The loop is complete, and because it's so rewarding, your brain will be even more likely to run this script automatically tomorrow morning. Now let's look at how we can use this same loop to intentionally build a good habit. Let's say you want to build the habit of meditating for 1 minute every morning. You need to engineer all 4 stages. Step 1, the cue. You need to make the cue obvious. A great strategy is to link your new habit to an existing one. Let's say you already have a strong habit of drinking a cup of coffee every morning. You can make pouring my coffee the cue for your new habit. Step 2, the craving. You need to associate the habit with a positive feeling. You might crave a moment of peace and calm before the chaos of the day begins. You can prime this craving by reminding yourself how good it will feel to start your day with a clear mind. Step 3, the response. You need to make the action incredibly easy. Don't start with 20 minutes of meditation. Start with 1 minute. Sit down in a specific chair right after you pour your coffee and just breathe for 60 seconds. The response is so small and easy that there is no friction. Step 4, the reward. After your 1 minute of meditation, you need an immediate reward to close the loop. This could be something simple. You could allow yourself to enjoy your coffee, which is a reward in itself. Or you could just take a moment to feel proud of yourself. You could say, I did it. I showed up for myself today. This feeling of self-satisfaction is a powerful reward that teaches your brain that this new habit is worth repeating. By consciously designing each stage of the loop, you can take a behavior that feels like a chore and transform it into a habit that becomes automatic and even enjoyable. The power of this framework is that it gives you a clear diagnostic tool for any habit in your life. If you are struggling to build a habit, you can ask yourself which of the 4 stages is the weak link. Is the cue not obvious enough? Am I not craving the reward? Is the response too difficult? Is the reward not satisfying enough? By analyzing the habit through this lens, you can pinpoint the problem and make a specific adjustment. It turns the art of habit change into a science. You are no longer relying on vague notions like motivation or willpower. You are systematically debugging your own psychological code. This process of deconstruction is not just for building good habits. It is incredibly powerful for breaking bad ones. Once you have identified the cue, craving, response, and reward for a habit you want to eliminate, you have several options. You can try to remove the cue from your environment. You can address the underlying craving with a healthier response. You can make the response more difficult by adding friction, or you can make the reward less satisfying. In the following chapters, we will explore specific, practical strategies for manipulating each of these 4 levers. We will learn the 4 laws of behavior change, which are a set of simple rules for designing good habits and eliminating bad ones based directly on this habit loop model. For now, your task is simply to observe, to become a more mindful witness of your own life. Pay attention to the automatic scripts that you run every day. Don't judge them, just notice them. When you find yourself reaching for your phone, ask yourself, what was the cue? What am I really craving in this moment? When you skip a workout, ask, what friction got in my way? What part of the loop broke down? This act of observation is the beginning of all change. You cannot change a habit that you are not aware of. The habit loop is the invisible architecture of your daily life. By shining a light on it, you take the first step from being a passive inhabitant of your life to becoming its conscious architect. You are learning the language of your brain, and once you can speak the language, you can start to write a new story. You have the code. In the next chapter, we will learn exactly how to edit it. Chapter 4. The Architect's Toolkit. 4 Simple Laws for Building Better Habits. In the last chapter, we delved into the hidden code that runs our lives. The 4-step pattern of cue, craving, response, and reward that makes up the habit loop. Understanding this loop is like a mechanic understanding how an engine works. It's essential knowledge, but knowledge alone is not enough. You can understand the theory of combustion perfectly, but that won't help you fix a broken car. You need tools. You need a practical, hands-on guide for how to apply that knowledge. This chapter is that guide. This is your toolkit. We are now moving from being a student of our habits to becoming the architect of our lives. An architect doesn't just wish for a beautiful building to appear. They don't rely on inspiration or motivation to erect a skyscraper. They rely on a deep understanding of physics, on blueprints, on a systematic process. They design the structure with intention, ensuring every beam is placed correctly, every wire is run properly, and every window is positioned to catch the light. They create an environment where the desired outcome is not just possible, but inevitable. You are going to learn how to do the same thing for your own behavior. We are going to stop trying to force change through sheer willpower. Relying on willpower is like trying to hold up a collapsing roof with your bare hands. You might be strong for a little while, but eventually you will get tired, and the whole thing will come crashing down. A better approach is to be an architect. A better approach is to redesign the structure so the roof doesn't collapse in the first place. The toolkit we will use consists of 4 simple but profoundly effective laws of behavior change. These laws are not complicated theories. They are practical levers that you can pull to manipulate the habit loop. They are the user manual for the human brain. For every good habit you want to build, we will apply these 4 laws. And for every bad habit you want to break, we will simply invert them. These 4 laws are: Law number 1, make it obvious. Law number 2, make it easy. Law number 3, make it satisfying. And the 4th law, which we will discuss at the end, is to make it attractive, though we will integrate its principles throughout the other 3 for simplicity. By the end of this chapter, you will have a complete framework for building any habit you desire and dismantling any habit that is holding you back. So let's open the toolbox and get to work. Law number 1 is to make it obvious. This law corresponds to the first step of the habit loop, the cue. As we learned, the cue is the trigger that initiates a habit. If the cue is not obvious, the habit will never even begin. Most of us think that our habits are a product of our motivation and discipline. We believe we make conscious choices throughout our day, but the reality is that a huge portion of our behavior is simply a reaction to the cues in our environment. You are not a creature of pure logic. You are a creature of your environment. The things you see, the places you go, the people you are with, these are the invisible hands that shape your daily actions far more than your conscious intentions do. Think about the design of a grocery store. The most expensive and profitable items are not hidden in the back. They are placed at eye level where they are most obvious. The candy and magazines are placed right by the checkout counter, cueing you to make an impulse purchase when you are bored and waiting in line. The milk and eggs are often at the very back of the store, forcing you to walk past thousands of other queues for products you didn't intend to buy. The grocery store is a masterfully designed environment intended to cue specific behaviors. Your home, your office, and your car are also environments, and they are either cueing the habits you want or the habits you don't. The first step in building a good habit is to make the cue for it as obvious as possible. You want to design your environment so that your desired actions are the most natural and effortless choice. This strategy is called environment design, and it is one of the most powerful ways to change your behavior without relying on willpower. Let's make this practical. Let's say you want to build the habit of drinking more water. Your intention is good, but if the only thing you see on your kitchen counter is a soda machine, your environment is cueing the wrong behavior. To make the new habit obvious, You could fill up a large jug of water every morning and place it in the very center of your counter. You could put a glass on your desk at work. You could keep a water bottle in your car. By making the cue for drink water constantly visible, you are priming your brain to think about it and act on it. You are no longer relying on your memory or motivation. You are relying on your environment. Let's take another example. You want to practice the guitar more often. For months, your guitar has been stored in its case, in the back of a closet in the spare bedroom. To practice, you would have to remember the intention, walk to the other room, pull the case out of the closet, open it, take the guitar out, and find a place to sit. There are at least 5 steps of friction between you and the habit. Your environment is making the habit invisible and difficult. Now imagine you buy a simple guitar stand and you place it in the corner of your living room, the room where you spend most of your evenings. Now, the guitar is there, visible, obvious. As you sit on the couch, you see it. It is cueing you, reminding you of your desire to play. The friction has been reduced to almost zero. You can simply reach out, pick it up, and play for 5 minutes. You have multiplied the odds of you performing that habit by a factor of 10, simply by changing one small thing in your environment. This works for any habit. Do you want to read more? Don't just think about it. Take the book you want to read and place it on your pillow. When you go to bed, the cue will be unmissable. You will have to physically touch the book to get into bed. Want to eat more fruit? Don't hide it in the crisper drawer in your refrigerator. Buy a beautiful bowl and place it on your kitchen table, filled with apples and bananas. Make the healthy choice the obvious choice. Want to remember to take your vitamins? Take them out of the cabinet and place them right next to your toothbrush. You have now linked the cue to something you already do every single day. The inversion of this law is just as powerful for breaking bad habits. Make it invisible. If your environment is constantly cueing you to perform a habit you want to break, you are setting yourself up for a battle you will likely lose. The simplest way to break a bad habit is to reduce your exposure to the cue that triggers it. If you find yourself mindlessly eating junk food while watching television, don't rely on willpower to resist it. Simply remove the junk food from your house. Make the cue invisible. If you can't buy it, you can't eat it. You have won the battle before it even starts. If you find yourself wasting hours on your smartphone, make the distracting cues invisible. Move the social media and gaming apps off your home screen and into a folder on the last page. Better yet, delete them from your phone and only access them through a web browser on your computer. This small bit of friction makes the cue less obvious and the habit less likely to start. If you want to drink less alcohol, take it out of the visible places in your kitchen. If you want to spend less money on impulse buys, unsubscribe from marketing emails and catalogs. You are curating your environment to serve your goals. You are becoming the architect. A person with a clean environment often looks like they have superhuman willpower, but the reality is they are simply better at controlling their surroundings. They don't have to fight temptation as often because they have designed a world where temptation rarely shows up. Another powerful strategy for making cues obvious is a technique called habit stacking. This is based on the idea that the most powerful cues are the habits you already have. Your brain has already built strong neural pathways for your existing routines. Instead of trying to create a new cue out of thin air, you can simply piggyback your new desired habit onto an existing one. The formula for habit stacking is simple. After I current habit, I will new habit. The key is to be very specific about the current habit, which will serve as the cue. In the morning is not a good cue. It's too vague. After I pour my first cup of coffee is a perfect cue. It is specific, it happens at a precise moment, and it is something you do without fail every single day. Let's build some habit stacks. After I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. After I take off my work shoes, I will immediately change into my workout clothes. After I sit down to dinner, I will say one thing I am grateful for from the day. After I brush my teeth at night, I will floss 1 tooth. After I get into bed, I will read 1 page of a book. The possibilities are endless. The beauty of this method is that you are linking your new, desired behavior to a deeply ingrained pattern. The old habit automatically triggers the new one. You are letting your existing momentum carry you into your new routine. Eventually, the two habits will become fused together into one seamless action. You won't even have to think about it. Just as you automatically reach for the soap after turning on the water to wash your hands, you will automatically start your meditation after pouring your coffee. The second law of behavior change is to make it easy. This law corresponds to the third step of the habit loop, the response. Human beings are fundamentally motivated to conserve energy. This is a survival instinct that has been wired into our brains over millions of years. Given two options, we will naturally gravitate toward the one that requires less work. This is the law of least effort. This is not a sign of laziness. It is a sign of intelligence. It's smart to be efficient. The problem is that this natural inclination can often steer us away from our long-term goals. Going to the gym is hard. Sitting on the couch is easy. Cooking a healthy meal is hard. Ordering a pizza is easy. Our brains are designed to choose the easy option in the moment. To build good habits, we cannot fight this fundamental law of human nature. We must work with it. We must make our desired habits the path of least resistance. The primary strategy for making a habit easy is to reduce the friction associated with it. Friction is the amount of effort or the number of steps that stand between you and your desired action. For every step you can remove, you dramatically increase the likelihood that you will perform the habit. We already touched on this with our guitar example. Moving the guitar from a closet to a stand in the living room was an act of friction reduction. Let's apply this concept more broadly. If you want to go to the gym in the morning, what are the points of friction? You have to find your gym clothes, your shoes, your water bottle, and your keys, all while you are tired and it's dark outside. To reduce this friction, you can prepare everything the night before. Lay out your clothes and shoes. Fill your water bottle. Put your gym bag and keys right by the front door. When your alarm goes off, you have made it as easy as possible to get up and go. You have removed the decision-making and the searching from the process. This strategy can be applied everywhere. Want to eat healthier? Eat. Spend a few hours on Sunday chopping vegetables and cooking healthy meals for the week. When you get home from work, tired and hungry, the healthy option is now the easy option. It requires less effort than ordering takeout. Want to write in a journal every day? Don't keep your journal on a bookshelf. Leave it open on your nightstand with a pen resting on the page. The friction is gone. Want to send more thank you notes? Keep a box of cards, stamps, and a pen in one place on your desk. By priming the environment, you are making future actions easier. The work you do today to reduce friction is a gift to your future self. Every habit is easier to start if the environment is prepared for it. The most powerful strategy for making a habit easy, especially when you are just starting out, is what I call the 2-minute rule. The principle is simple. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. This might sound counterintuitive. How can you make real progress in just 2 minutes? But the purpose of the 2-minute rule is not to get results. The purpose is to master the art of showing up. Remember from our chapter on identity, a habit must be established before it can be improved. If you can't even get yourself to start the habit, you will never have the chance to perfect it. The 2-minute rule is designed to make it so laughably easy to start that you can't say no. It is focused entirely on solidifying the habit of starting. Let's reframe some common goals using the 2-minute rule. Read 30 minutes every day becomes read 1 page. Do yoga for an hour becomes take out my yoga mat. Run 3 miles becomes put on my running shoes and fill my water bottle. Study for my exam becomes open my textbook to the right chapter. The idea is to make the beginning of the process the entire habit. This is a gateway habit. The goal is simply to walk through the gate. Once you have put on your running shoes, you are much more likely to actually go for a run. Once you have taken out your yoga mat, you are much more likely to do a few poses. Once you have read 1 page, you might just find yourself reading for 10. But even if you don't, you have still succeeded. You showed up, you cast a vote for your new identity, you maintained your momentum, you kept the chain of consistency alive. Anyone can read 1 page. Anyone can take out a yoga mat. The 2-minute rule removes the feeling of being overwhelmed and replaces it with a feeling of accomplishment. You are not trying to build the perfect habit from day 1. You are trying to build the habit of showing up. Once you have mastered that, You can worry about optimizing it later. The inversion of this law, to break a bad habit, is to make it difficult. You want to increase the friction between you and the habit you want to stop. You want to make the path of least resistance lead away from your bad habit. If you watch too much television, unplug it after each use. The next time you feel the urge to watch, you will have to get up, plug it in, and wait for it to boot up. This small amount of friction might be just enough to make you reconsider. If you spend too much time on social media, you can use an app that blocks those sites during your work hours. You can set a long and complicated password that you have to enter every time, making it a hassle to log in. One man I know who wanted to quit smoking started buying his cigarettes from a store that was a 20-minute drive away, and he would only buy one pack at a time. By adding this significant friction, he made it much harder to indulge his craving. Think about your own bad habits. How can you put more steps between you and the starting line? How can you make it less convenient? By strategically adding friction, you make the bad habit a less likely choice again, without relying on pure willpower. The third law of behavior change is to make it satisfying. This law corresponds to the final step of the habit loop, the reward. This is the cardinal rule of all behavior change. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. Our brains did not evolve in a world of delayed gratification. They evolved in an immediate return environment. For our ancestors, the right choice was almost always the one that produced an immediate benefit: finding food, seeking shelter, escaping a predator. As a result, our brains are wired to prioritize immediate rewards over long-term ones. This creates a fundamental conflict when it comes to building good habits. The reward for a bad habit, like eating a donut, is immediate and pleasurable. The cost is delayed, the potential for weight gain in the future. The cost of a good habit, like going to the gym, is immediate. It takes time and effort. The reward is delayed, better health in the future. Our brains are naturally inclined to choose the donut over the gym because they are hardwired to value the present moment more than the future. To build a good habit, we need to find a way to bring the reward into the present moment. We need to give ourselves some form of immediate, positive reinforcement. One simple way to do this is to add a little bit of immediate pleasure to the habits you are trying to build. Find a way to pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do. For example, if you want to get in the habit of exercising, you could make a rule that you are only allowed to listen to your favorite podcast or watch your favorite Netflix show while you are on the treadmill. You are bundling the long-term reward of exercise with the immediate reward of entertainment. You will start to look forward to your workouts because it means you get to find out what happens next in the story. If you are trying to save money, you can create a satisfying ritual. Every time you resist making an impulse purchase, you can immediately transfer the amount you would have spent into a special savings account named for a goal you are excited about, like trip to Italy. Seeing that account balance go up provides an immediate satisfying reward for your good behavior. Another incredibly powerful way to make a habit satisfying is to use a habit tracker. A habit tracker can be a simple calendar, a page in a journal, or a digital app. The method doesn't matter. The process is to simply put a check mark or an X on each day that you successfully complete your habit. This simple act is satisfying for several reasons. First, it is an obvious and visible measure of your progress. It's a visual cue that reminds you to act. Second, it is a form of immediate gratification. The act of making that mark feels good. It is a small concrete reward that closes the habit loop. It provides a little hit of dopamine. Third, and most powerfully, it taps into our innate desire not to break the chain. Once you have a string of 5, 10, or 20 X's in a row, you will be highly motivated to keep it going. The chain itself becomes the reward. You will work hard to protect your streak. This is the strategy Jerry Seinfeld famously used to become a legendary comedian. He made a rule to write a new joke every single day, and every day he did it, he would put a big red X on a calendar. He said, "After a few days, you'll have a chain. Just keep at it, and the chain will grow longer every day. You'll like seeing that chain, especially when you get a few weeks under your belt. Your only job next is to not break the chain." Tracking your habits also has the powerful side effect of reinforcing your identity. Each checkmark is another vote for the person you want to become. It is a piece of evidence. When you look at your tracker and see a month's worth of workouts, you are not just looking at a calendar. You are looking at proof that you are the type of person who doesn't miss workouts. This visual proof is incredibly satisfying and strengthens your commitment to the identity you are building. Finally, the inversion of this law for breaking bad habits is to make it unsatisfying. You want to add an immediate cost to the action. For a habit to be truly broken, the consequence needs to be painful. One of the most effective ways to do this is to create a habit contract and get an accountability partner. A habit contract is a formal, written agreement where you state your commitment to a certain behavior and the punishment that will occur if you fail. Your accountability partner is the person who will enforce the contract. For example, you could write a contract that says, "For every week that I do not complete 3 workouts, I will give my friend John $100. You then sign it, and John signs it. Now, the cost of skipping your workouts is no longer a vague, delayed consequence for your future health. It is an immediate, painful, and very unsatisfying loss of $100. This makes the pain of inaction greater than the pain of action, which can be a powerful motivator to get you to do the right thing. So there you have it, the 4 laws that make up your architect's toolkit. To build a good habit, make it obvious, make it easy, and make it satisfying. To break a bad habit, make it invisible, make it difficult, and make it unsatisfying. You don't need to be a hero, you don't need to have more willpower, you just need to be a better architect. You need to redesign your environment, reduce the friction for your good habits, increase it for your bad ones, and find ways to give yourself an immediate reward for showing up. These laws are your blueprint. Now it's time to start building. Chapter 5. When you fall, the art of bouncing back. We have spent the last 4 chapters building a powerful and logical system for changing our behavior. We learned about the compounding power of 1% improvements. We explored the deep connection between our habits and our identity. We deconstructed the habit loop into its 4 essential parts. And we just finished assembling a complete toolkit of practical strategies for building good habits and breaking bad ones. If you were to follow this system perfectly, you would be unstoppable. You could methodically transform any area of your life with predictable precision. There is just one problem with this perfect plan. You are not a robot. You are a human being, living in a messy, unpredictable, and often chaotic world. No matter how good your intentions are, no matter how well designed your system is, there will come a day when you fail. You will get sick. You will have a family emergency. You will have a project at work that requires all of your energy. You will go on vacation. You will have a moment of weakness. You will eat the cake. You will skip the workout. You will snap at your partner. You will fall off the wagon. This is not a possibility, it is an inevitability. And what you do in the moment after you fall is perhaps the single most important factor that separates the people who make lasting change from those who don't. This chapter is not about how to be perfect. It is about what to do when you are not. This is about the art of bouncing back. Let me tell you about a woman named Maria. Maria wanted to build a habit of waking up at 6 a.m. every morning to write for 30 minutes before her kids woke up. She used the laws we've discussed. She made it obvious by putting her journal and pen on her kitchen table the night before. She made it easy by committing to the 2-minute rule. She just had to write 1 sentence. And she made it satisfying by rewarding herself with her favorite cup of tea immediately after. For 2 straight weeks, she was perfect. She woke up every morning, wrote in her journal, and felt incredible. She was building momentum. She was proving to herself that she was a writer. Then, one Tuesday night, her youngest child came down with a fever. Maria was up with her all night, comforting her and giving her medicine. When the alarm went off at 6 a.m., she was utterly exhausted. She hit the snooze button and went back to sleep. When she finally woke up later that morning, a wave of guilt washed over her. I failed, she thought. I broke my streak. I knew I couldn't do it. This single thought was the start of a dangerous spiral. Because she felt like a failure, she told herself, well, the day is already ruined, so what's the point? She didn't write at all that day. The next morning, the alarm went off, and the memory of yesterday's failure was fresh. The thought in her head was, I already missed one day, another one won't matter. I'll start again next Monday, but next Monday never came. The perfect system she had built was completely derailed by one single, unavoidable life event. The momentum was lost. The identity she was building began to crumble. Maria fell into a trap that ensnares millions of people. It is the single biggest killer of good habits. It is the all-or-nothing mindset. This is a form of black and white thinking where there is no room for error. You're either a complete success or a total failure. There is no middle ground. The all-or-nothing mindset says, I ate one cookie, so I have ruined my diet. I might as well eat the entire box. It says, I missed one workout, so my fitness plan is a failure. I'll just give up for the rest of the week. It says, I was too tired to meditate this morning, so I am not a mindful person. This mindset turns a single minor slip-up into a catastrophe. It takes a small crack and shatters the entire foundation. The first and most important step in learning to bounce back is to free yourself from the prison of perfectionism. Perfection is not the goal. Consistency is the goal. A bad workout is infinitely better than no workout. A 10-minute walk is infinitely better than sitting on the couch. Eating one healthy meal on an otherwise unhealthy day is still a win. Writing one paragraph is infinitely better than writing nothing. The goal is not to have a perfect upward trajectory with no setbacks. The goal is to have an upward trajectory that continues to move in the right direction over time, despite the inevitable dips and valleys. Think of it like the stock market. A healthy, growing portfolio does not go up in a straight line every single day. There are down days, there are corrections, there are periods of stagnation. But over the long run, the overall trend is upward. Your progress in life works the same way. The key is to not panic and sell all your stocks just because you had one bad day. The key is to stay in the game. So, how do we stay in the game when we stumble? How do we prevent one bad day from turning into a bad week, a bad month, or a bad year? We need a simple, clear, and non-negotiable rule that guides our actions immediately after a failure. This rule is the most important principle in this entire book for making your habits last a lifetime. It is this: never miss twice. Let that sink in for a moment. Never miss twice. This rule is a game changer because it gives you permission to be human. It acknowledges that mistakes will happen. Life will get in the way. You will miss a day. That is okay. Missing once is an accident. It's a data point. It's life. But missing a second time in a row is not an accident. Missing twice is the beginning of a new habit. Missing twice is a conscious choice to start a downward trend. The first mistake never ruins you. It is the spiral of repeated mistakes that follows that does the damage. Missing one workout is fine, but the belief that it's okay to miss another one because you already broke your streak is what leads you back to a sedentary lifestyle. Eating one unhealthy meal is a minor blip, but using it as an excuse to continue eating poorly for the rest of the week is what leads to weight gain. The first miss is a threat to your momentum, but the second miss solidifies the loss of that momentum. The power of the never miss twice rule is in its simplicity and its immediate call to action. It removes all the negotiation and rationalization that happens in your head after a failure. You don't have to wonder what to do next. The rule is clear. If you missed your habit today, you must, under any and all circumstances, get back on track tomorrow. There is no "I'll start again on Monday." There is no "I'll wait until the first of the month." Your next opportunity to perform the habit is a line in the sand. You cannot cross it. Let's see how this would have changed things for Maria. After missing her writing session on Wednesday morning because she was up all night with her sick child, she would have felt the same exhaustion and guilt. But instead of the thought being, "I failed, it's all over," her guiding thought would have been, "I missed once, that's okay. My only job now is to not miss twice." Her entire focus would have shifted from beating herself up about the past to preparing for the immediate future. On Thursday morning, when the alarm went off, she might still have been tired, but the rule would have been echoing in her mind. She would have known that this was the critical moment. This was the moment that would determine whether she was still a writer, building a habit, or someone who had given up. So she would have gotten out of bed. And because she was following the 2-minute rule, her task wasn't to write for 30 minutes. Her task was just to write one sentence. She could do that. So she would have gone to the kitchen, written one sentence in her journal, and made her tea. And with that one small action, she would have repaired the chain. She would have stopped the downward spiral before it even began. She would have cast a vote for her identity as a writer, even on a hard day. In fact, showing up on a hard day is one of the most powerful votes you can cast. It proves to yourself that you are committed, that you are resilient, that you are the real deal. This rule works for any habit. Let's say you are trying to eat healthy, and you go to a birthday party and eat a huge piece of cake and some ice cream. You have missed once. The old you would have said, well, today's a write-off, and proceeded to eat junk food for the rest of the evening. The new you, guided by the never miss twice rule, recognizes that your very next meal is the critical moment. So, for dinner that night, or for breakfast the next morning at the absolute latest, you make a healthy choice. You eat a salad. You have a smoothie. You get right back on track. You have contained the damage. You have proven that one indulgence does not define your entire identity. It is crucial to understand that on the get back on track day, you should lower your expectations. The goal is not to have a perfect, record-breaking performance. The goal is simply to show up. If you missed your gym session yesterday, your only goal today is to get through the door of the gym. Even if you just walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes and leave, you have succeeded. You have upheld the rule. You have maintained the identity. You have cast the vote. The amateur lets a missed workout derail their whole week. The professional knows that a bad workout is the most important workout of the week, because it is the one that keeps the habit alive. Consistency is not about intensity. It's about showing up, especially when you don't feel like it. This brings us to a deeper point about redefining what success means. We tend to think of success as a highlight reel, a series of great achievements. But real, long-term success is built in the boring, unglamorous, and often difficult moments in between. Here's what happens in the messy middle. The beginning of any new journey is exciting. You are filled with motivation and hope. The end is rewarding. You have achieved your goal and can celebrate. But the middle part of the journey, which is where you spend most of your time, is often a grind. The novelty has worn off. The results are still far in the future. You are just putting in the reps day after day. This is the part of the journey where most people quit. Success is not about having the motivation to start. Success is about having the discipline to continue when the initial excitement has faded. It is about falling in love with the process, even on the days when it feels boring. It is about being the kind of person who shows up, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. The never miss twice rule is your anchor in the messy middle. It is the tool that keeps you tethered to the process when your motivation is gone. It helps you build a different kind of identity. Not the identity of someone who is perfect, but the identity of someone who is resilient. Not the identity of someone who never falls, but the identity of someone who always gets back up. This is a far more powerful and realistic identity to cultivate. Life will knock you down. That is a guarantee. The question is not whether you will get knocked down, but how quickly you will get back on your feet. The habit of getting back up is the most important habit of all. So, I want you to give yourself permission to be imperfect. Let go of the all-or-nothing mindset. When you slip up, and you will, I want you to practice self-compassion, not self-criticism. Don't say, I'm such a failure. Instead, say, I'm human. That was a moment of imperfection. Now, what's my plan for getting back on track with my very next opportunity? Treat your failures as data. They are not a judgment on your character. They are simply information. Maybe you skipped your workout because you were too tired in the evening. The data is telling you that maybe you should try scheduling your workout for the morning. Maybe you broke your diet because you were too hungry when you got home from work. The data is telling you that maybe you should have a healthy snack planned for the late afternoon. Every mistake is a teacher, if you are willing to listen to its lesson. The journey of building better habits is not a sprint. It is a marathon. It is a lifelong process of learning, adjusting, and growing. There is no finish line. The goal is not to reach a state of perfect behavior. The goal is to engage in a continuous process of becoming a slightly better version of yourself than you were yesterday. And the most vital part of that process is having a strategy for when things go wrong. So burn this rule into your mind, write it down, put it on your wall, make it your mantra, never miss twice. If you can follow this one simple rule, you will never be derailed by a single failure again. You will have built a system that is not fragile, but anti-fragile, a system that is not broken by life's chaos, but is actually strengthened by it. You will have mastered the art of bouncing back, and that is the true secret to making change that lasts.